Let's go talk about drugs, the bad kind of drugs. Fentanyl, deadly fentanyl, killing people left and right, especially in the US. There's been a pair of new reports from Chainalysis and Elliptic looking at just how involved cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Tether, or USDT, are in the fentanyl drug trade, specifically from China. This is a pretty alarming headline. I would imagine that this may be brought up in a congressional hearing, maybe one day, right? Crypto and fentanyl from China, like there's a lot of words on that bingo card that if you're a proponent of the industry, you don't want to see those things linked together. So this may become a talking point, I think, in what has long plagued Bitcoin's image, right? It's the choice, it's the currency of choice for drug dealers and other assorted ne'er-do-wells. So anyway, this is a pair of reports. We can dig into them a little bit. I will toss it to Jen for her thoughts on some new data on crypto's role in the fentanyl trade.
Zach, my thoughts were exactly yours when I read this story. Now we have fentanyl to look forward to hearing in congressional hearings amongst, North Korea and China and money laundering. And now we have fentanyl, and I'm sure we're going to hear that in the next one. At the very end of the story, it notes fentanyl overdoses are the leading cause of death for those aged 18 to 45 in the U.S. And so I think it makes sense that analytics firms and law enforcement are looking into every aspect and angle of this. I think the crypto headline here is one that doesn't do the industry any service. And so it's important to remind people that, yes, people are using crypto as a form of payment to get their hands on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, it's substances, like this is legal in China, what people are buying, right?
I think there's something about like the precursors for the production of like street style fentanyl. So there is some degree of specificity around this language. Yeah.
Right. So like the drug trade has been around long before crypto, and I think it's important to mention that. And should crypto be banned and crypto go away, I don't think that this is going away. I think there are other ways to pay for things like this, including fiat currency. And so I hope that this headline isn't misleading and isn't taken out of context, and we don't see more mainstream media organizations and politicians saying that crypto is fueling fentanyl, which is then killing Americans, because I think that is not what we should take away from this. Will?
Yeah, a few points here. One is that we might have like crypto's own version of Breaking Bad in our hands. So if anyone wants to get like the screenwrites going with me, I would be down to talk about it. Second is this will definitely end up in Congress in like the next few weeks to months. There's definitely going to be conversation about how Tether specifically and Bitcoin more largely are facilitating the trade of fentanyl. But I think, Jen, you have the best point here, which is that money is the medium for trading fentanyl, right? Anyone who's making fentanyl or any sort of drug, any sort of illicit activity, they're going to need money at some point. Crypto is just better money. It's easier to move it around. It's really fast. It's very secure. You just need two parties. You don't need intermediary. So, of course, drug traders and other illicit activities going to move towards that first. And that sort of makes sense, right? People who are like within this game, they need better money. And so they're going to gravitate towards it. Now for like Bitcoin and Tether, it's interesting that those things are used more than say a privacy coin like Zcash or Monero, because there are cryptocurrencies built specifically with the purpose of adding some privacy to the trading, right? So like Zcash, it's not built for fentanyl by any means, but it is built for privacy. And so you might expect that someone who's trading drugs or doing some illicit activity would be using a privacy coin like Zcash or like Monero. It's hard to say, honestly, because it's hard to know like what's going on in those coins. But we do know that they have less liquidity than Bitcoin or Tether. And so a lot of times people gravitate towards something with more liquidity, Bitcoin or Tether. Tether is a stable coin, really easy to get your hands on it, especially overseas. Bitcoin, you can trade large sums for it. It's not really going to impact the price. You can also cash out basically anywhere because of Bitcoin ATMs, and most people accept Bitcoin at this point. So that's why you see people move towards it. Zach, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, so we're talking about 27 million in one estimate, 37 million in another since 2018, I believe. So this is not a huge sum of money, and I think probably the only positive sort of next level spin that someone who is a crypto true believer could put on this is that you can trace these flows, right? These are public blockchains on which you can trace the flows of illicit payments, right? And arguably that is a feature, not a bug, of some of these open ledgers, right? The fact that you can document, chronicle, quantify how this is happening, and potentially use it to do enforcement action on some of the more nefarious players involved. I think that is a selling point for Bitcoin, for these open blockchain networks, and a selling point for why they should continue to exist both in the US and beyond, right? And so I think, again, you have Chainalysis, you have Elliptic, you have TRM Labs. They're doing the important work of stitching these pieces together and figuring out what's going on and quantifying a problem that would otherwise be difficult to quantify in the world of, cash in a bag somewhere. So that, I think, is probably the only thing that will come out of this that is positive, but is certainly a harder sell beyond the headline itself, especially in the context of establishing legislation, especially in the US, especially in 2023. So we'll see if that nuanced level of conversation takes place, but I'm not hopeful. Not hopeful about it. You guys hopeful? No, nada. Sorry,
No.
sad.